Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today in this session, in which you will discover from the pharma and public healthcare perspective how more and more digital innovation is impacting the healthcare ecosystem. This session will be led by part of the academic team of the Master in Digital Healthcare, a program aimed to reshape healthcare and pharma industries through innovation and leadership. So, as part of the team who will share their vision in this topic today, we have Luca Caruso, Digital Health Manager at Ferrer, and Digital Health and Entrepreneurship Professor of the Master, Jordi Piera, Director of the Digital Health Strategy Office at the Catalan Health Service, and Health Content Coordinator of the program, and Jordi Arrufí, Digital Transformation Projects Director at the Mobile World Capital Barcelona, and Technology Content Coordinator of the Master as well. At the end of this talk, we'll have some minutes dedicated to Q&As, so you can write your questions and we'll read them at the end of the talk. Thank you all. So I will leave the floor to you.
Well, thank you very much, Cecilia, for the introduction. So, welcome to this webinar that is taking place in the framework of the Master in Healthcare that is about to start in a few weeks as I joined Venture together with Barcelona Technology School and University of Barcelona. And as Cecilia already introduced, I'm here along with Jordi Piera and Luca Carusso. And we will speak today about mainly two topics. The first topic is about the digitization of the health industry. So we will cover several trends, use cases, and so on about what's going on, what are the main trends, the use cases in digitization of the entire value chain. And also the second topic is how to do it. So which are the main tools, the main procedures and methodologies of innovation that we are seeing as trendy in the market. And we will cover that, as Cecilia also introduced, from 2 points of views or perspectives. One from the, let's say, focus of the private pharma company. So Luca is experienced in that field. She comes from Ferrer, a pharma company here, a local but international actually pharma company. He's head actually of the venture client, so he will tell us also about how to do it, how to deal especially with the startup in order to innovate. And also we will cover innovation and innovation methodologies from a public health system. Actually, I have to remind that the master covers the entire value chain of the innovation in health system. So we cover from pharma companies, insurance companies in health, public service institutions, also primary care, and so on and so on. So today we have a good sample of what we will see in the master course. This presentation or this session will take around 1 hour. First 45 minutes will be rather a chat, rather a talk together with both of you guys, with Jordi and Luca, and then we will, let's say, gather questions and answers that we will cover in the last part of the session, in the last 15 or 20 minutes. Even this is rather a talk. I will introduce the topic. I will, let's say, frame the discussion of today. So let me share with you my my screen, okay? I will share a few slides. Just a second. Okay, share screen. Okay, share. I guess that you can see my screen, right? I think it's okay. If anyone says the contrary, I will go ahead. Okay, I would like to invite to the reflection, right, with this actually sentence from the former CEO of Accenture saying that actually digitization is the main reason why over half of the 500 top companies from the US at 2000, so 20 years ago, are not relevant anymore. So they either disappeared or they are not on top anymore. So we are in this so-called VUCA world, right? Much more complex, way more volatile, and so on and so on. And digitization is the main reason. We identified two actually rationals about this, let's say, volatility in the economy, in the industries, and so on. First of all, of course, the exponential growth of technology. So we see how technologies and their performance are evolving at a very, very fast pace. They almost double their performance every year or every second year. So now they are at a maturity enough to create a real impact in new business models. So that's why we speak about AI, big data, IoT, and so on and so on. And the second, of course, is the trend of democratization of those technologies. Actually, technologies are becoming cheaper than ever. And actually, you can implement them on companies, on public institutions, and other stakeholders in a more convenient way than ever. Actually, cloud computing and the so-called low-coding platforms are empowering the democratization of those technologies. So that's why actually anyone can adopt this disruptive technology today, right? So my competitor can be potentially a startup, so a company created from scratch a few years ago, can be a tech company. We're seeing how the 4 big or 5 big companies from the Western US are disrupting the market, right? So and entering in the health system and health industry, by the way, right? And what about COVID-19? Actually, COVID-19 has been, as probably you already know, an accelerator, a booster for this digital economy and digital technologies in the market. Basically, according actually to this survey from World Economic Forum, companies adopted 3 main actions in order to face COVID-19. First is digitization. Second is automation of internal and external procedures, which is pretty linked with the first one. And third, but I would say not least, a reskilling of their own workforce. Actually, since you digitize, you need to reskill your workforce because they need, as a company, new skills. So actually, COVID-19, it's been, as I say, an enabler of digital transformation. So since at the beginning of this COVID crisis, the economists were discussing whether if we will recover in a V shape, in a W shape. Nowadays, there is a consensus that actually the shape in which we will recover will be rather a K shape. So it means that those companies that are more digital and data driven will recover first and actually will be reinforced by this crisis, and other companies that won't take this, let's say, leap of the digital transformation will take time in order to converge with the growth path of the first ones. Actually, that's not something that we just envision. It's something that is already being proven, right? So the market acknowledges those companies that are able to adopt technology. We see how the tech firms actually in the in Standard & Poor's index compared with those technology firms, they have performed way better in stock market, but also e-commerce companies and also, of course, pharma companies. And especially pharma merged with technology are those also that has performed way better than the rest. So actually market is saying that technology adoption is already acknowledged as a competitive way of being in the market nowadays. Some data about trends in investment. I would like to talk later on with Luca about the trends in investment, and especially what kind of solutions are providing companies created from scratch, such as startups or even scale-ups, or startups that already grown up, are already big, and they are actually providing new solutions to the market. Well, health has been the third industry most invested in European startups, only after fintech and after enterprise software. By the way, enterprise software is another industry or another field that can be adopted in the health industry, since it is a way to automate and be more efficient in their own operations. What about the investment in health tech? Actually is growing everywhere, especially in Asia, by the way, right? So you can see how they multiply almost double-fold the investment in Asia in health tech startups, but it's growing everywhere over the last decade, from 2016 till 2020. We can see how almost double-fold the total investment. So it's a hot topic. Health is a safe bet actually for investment, and we see how the focus in the industry is in digitization. Well, and what kind of trends we see in the industry? Of course, there are many other trends beyond the ones that I'm showing here in this slide. Actually, I would like to discuss those trends together with Jordi and Luca, but we see how technologies and digital technologies are reshaping the industry of health. If we compare, for instance, or we take as an example other industries such as, for instance, car manufacturing, right? In car manufacturing, we envision the future as electrified cars, connected cars, self-driving cars, and especially business models based on sharing and mobility service, or mobility as a service. So it doesn't mean that the car manufacturer will disappear. It doesn't mean that the car manufacturer won't be needed anymore, but it means that the big part of the business, of the value of this industry, will turn into this kind of new business models. And the challenge for the car manufacturers is to be able to make the shift and transform themselves not only in car manufacturers, but also in service providers of mobility. And a bit the same is happening in the health industry. So we see how technology is enabling preventive medicine. So how wearables, for instance, are enabling patients to detect risks of suffering certain diseases, how NDA sequencing, that is, by the way, getting more precise and cheaper than ever, is also allowing the industries to detect certain risks of suffering certain diseases, and so on and so on. So we are moving to a rather preventive than reactive medicine. Also precision in diagnosis. So we see how the big tech companies, they hold supercomputers that basically, using machine learning, artificial intelligence, they are able to actually diagnose, for instance, cancer based in many images, rather better than the doctors itself. Also, and linked to this last trend, you are able also as a service provider to provide a more customized treatment to the patient, right? Since you understand better the body, understand better the diseases, you are able to provide more customized treatment to everyone. And last but not least, and we'll cover this topic as well, we see how the value chain in the industry is being reconstructed. For instance, this example, JDH from China is a company, a platform company that sells medical products and pharma products and drugs. Was sold for 1.8 billion, more or less, right? So this is a platform that is re-intermediating the traditional pharmacy brick and mortar stores. Or we see how doctors are able to provide services using platforms or a more accessible medicine, sometimes even enabled by medical devices that we can hold at home. And to finalize, before the introduction, just wanted to remind that all those trends have impact also in professions and in jobs, actually. So according to World Economic Forum, 9 out of the 10 most growing under demand jobs by 2025 will be directly linked to digitization. More technical skills such as AI and machine learning, data analysis, and so on, but also from the perspective or the bridge between the business and digitization, like, for instance, CTOs, or digital transformation specialists, and so on. While there will be other jobs that will be decreasing, both blue-collar and white-collar jobs. Because technology, AI, and mechanization, digitization will make those jobs redundant. So, of course, digitization will have a huge impact in the kind of skills that the market will need. And last but not least, those kind of skills won't be only digital or only hard skills such as software development and so on. Hybrid skills and hybrid profiles will be more needed than ever. So in the health industry will be needed people who is able to advertise skills of pharma, knowledge about the pharma industry, because it's actually a deep industry, a deep knowledge, and they need to balance those skills with digital skills. Those hybrid skills are actually way more acknowledged in the market, and they were actually are better paid than ones focused only in one kind of skills, digital or industry driven. So that was a bit my introduction. So I will stop sharing, and now I will start with Luca. Luca, well, I would like to ask you, Luca, you work in a pharma company, and you are actually boosting innovation as a head of digitization in this company, in this pharma company, Ferrer. You are boosting innovation from the perspective of a private company. So how can you explain us, what do you see about trending topics in the pharma industry, and how the entire value chain of the pharma industry is being digitized? How do you see that?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Jordi, thanks for the questions and the introduction. Very compelling. I think I really agree on some of the topics, especially the job changes. Yeah, I see basically that finally, after 20 years, we are here as well. So we are here ready to digitalize what is pharma. Actually, myself, I'm not a doctor or any science background, but actually in business. So, and I joined pharma with a completely different view, even though I worked for before for Boehringer Ingelheim back in Germany and in the medical department. So I really saw that how everything has changed from upstream to like really R&D and innovation part, through the manufacturing part, the supply chain, downstream really to sales, right? How it changed in the last year, or is changing, actually boosting from COVID. I don't want to talk about COVID because we are all over COVID, and I don't want to talk about that. But yes, we have to say that helped somehow to make the leap and jump into digitalization. So starting from the upstream is basically where I'm responsible for. So digital health. We really see that there are two parts in R&D that has been digitalized lately. One is the clinical development, let's say, thanks to also to AI, what you actually mentioned before, on how these machine learnings and can help to detect targets or find patients, for example, for clinical development, for clinical trials, down to what is new products, like really solutions that are digital, that can substitute or accompany whatever is the drug, basically, the treatment. So that's this is one part. Back in the middle, also processes. After this R&D, also processes been changed a lot, and we will see in a minute how. Really, with the use of whatever platform that are digital, also AI there as well, and real-time data. So basically, we can help things. And also last, and I think it's what is really moving now. It's down to marketing and sales. How really has changed the way we interact with our customers, with physicians, for example, and also patients, right? So I identified 4 areas that for me are interested. Just one is the personalized care, as you mentioned also before. So how digital health has helped to basically personalize the care, and this is just this they call hospital liquid, or how we really go beyond the hospital service, and we can actually be there and support patient 24/7 with applications. How can we help them with to adhere more to their medication? So then there are solution apps like iCure, for example, that helps patients to record when they take their medication, and then we can do analytics through that, for example. Sensors, as you know, we are all about sensors, and finally, and we'll discuss later on today, are digital therapeutics, which are really digital products, validated digital products that are really changing the way. Not just, we're producing, it's the pill plus solution, but we really go on a standalone solutions that are strong, and they are basically changing the way business models, like business model of pharma, possibly in the future, despite the challenges that are going on. And Jordi, we will discuss it later, I guess. The other Jordi.
Yes.
Second part. Yes. Yep.
Go ahead, sorry.
So go ahead. So second part is the real-time responsiveness. So how really all this digitalization can give us data that help us to be more agile. If you talk about back office, for example, and how, for example, in the procurement processes has changed completely to one solution, for example, even by SAP, its provider, that makes the very smooth the process, and you can see where everything stands all along the process. Same for manufacturing and supply chain. So it can help reduce costs. It can help have better quality controls in production, less wastage, and also predict the maintenance, for example, of the machines. This is also part of it. Those are parts that normally, we don't talk much. We talk about digital health, or we talk about the commercialization, but this is also a part that has been, it's under a process of digitalization, very hard. And another areas for me is the data-driven insights. So how we really use, we call it AI, but I don't think it's just AI. It's just use big data or advanced analytics to increase the first part, which is clinical part, the pipeline. So thanks to all the analytics and the trends to make strategy, like bring strategy forward on how we can basically go towards the new clinical developments. And second part is the commercial value, let's say, on how we the advanced analytics can help basically learn about prescribing behaviors, learn about how to find patients for clinical trials and so on, but also in general how the all around the data real world evidence, how the environment is. So all these data can be very helpful if we can analyze them properly, and we have now the solution to capture them. And last, but I think not least, is the fuller engagement. So the area of fuller engagement, thanks to how we actually talk to our customers. So through the omni-channel, that it does not stop to talk now. Before we were visiting, the sales rep go and visit the patients with the doctor, and they have the support of a aid, a detailed aid or a leaflet of something. Then we move to go and visit the doctors and then with an iPad. So wow, now we are digitalized. Then we finally moved into virtual visits with digital aids. And now we are to a point in which we need to stop. We need to change completely the strategy of communication, which means it's not a push communication. So it's not that I want to give you this information and I throw this information to you, but it's really like pool this. So it means understanding what each of the doctor and the physician needs, so our customer needs, capture this data and then provide the information to them. And that's bringing value not just to the doctor that say, okay, this company really give me what I need, and then possibly we prescribe these more products, and but also the sales rep that exactly knows what the message needs to provide to them, and also for helps marketing on our side to really structure a different strategy, right, based on data and for each subgroup, each target. So this is more or less I think the overview of where pharma is digitalizing basically.
Thank you, Luca. You provided a quite complete overview about what's going on in the industry. I would like to come back to you later and talk about specific trends or solutions such as digital therapeutics that you were speaking about. Okay, but now let's move to Jordi Piera. Jordi, as responsive of digitization in the public health system in the government of Catalonia, I would like, Jordi, you to provide us an overview about what's going on in innovation from the public perspective and the public health system. Actually, it's been a while already that we're speaking about digital health solutions, right, from the public perspective. And actually, we see some pilots that are already being up and running in the market. But I don't know to what extent we are going beyond the pilot and what is the level of maturity of the deployments of this kind of solutions. So welcome, Jordi.
Thank you, Jordi, for the introduction, and thank you for having me today here in this very interesting panel. I would like to start with a positive note, I would say, and it links a bit with your initial speech, Jordi, and also with Luca's speech. And it's in regards of the digital transformation of this traditional sector, which is healthcare. It's true that some authors acknowledge that there's a delay in the digital transformation of the health sector, and that's true. And some of them account that this delay is out. Well, it may be from 15 years in front of other sectors. But I believe that this is a source of an opportunity because there's a lot to do and many things are happening right now, and this is good. Luca was mentioning that, 20 years after, something is happening. And that's, I mean, for me, that I have devoted part of my professional career into trying this to happen. I think it's very good news, and that we are living a very sweet moment for digital health, implementation or the digital health transformation of the healthcare sector. So, going into your question, so where are we or what's going on within the public sector that you know, and it has been traditionally, and we all know that the public sector is slow by default. It's true that we are slow by default, but the good news is that many things are happening, and I would say that we are trying to embrace all these different technologies that Luca was mentioning. So from data analytics to the telemedicine solutions, digital therapeutics, all these different solutions are happening. And we have many people that is involved into this process. I would say that the main actors that are involved into this process are health provider organizations. So we have in here a bottom-up approach with many innovators everywhere, arising in every other organization, and also with a strong link with the private sector, which is quite new for us, and with innovators, startups, all these type of professionals that are working a lot into the solutions, and that somehow they are reshaping the care delivery models and the way we understand healthcare to an unprecedented level that we never had before. That's my thinking. I also, I won't go also into the COVID-19. You mentioned that, Luca mentioned that. We are all quite fed up with the COVID-19, but it's been a game changer, and we recognize this. I mean, there's been traditionally a lot of barriers that have stopped the digital transformation of the health sector. Well, I truly believe, and we even have an article published about this, which is in some scientific journal, where we acknowledge that the COVID-19 has removed practically many of those barriers, and now we are more ready to embrace such a change.
Jordi, can you, sorry to interrupt you, can you provide, for instance, a specific example of how COVID-19 is actually accelerating digitization in the public system? Kind of a use case that you would be proud of?
Yeah, well, I would say, and that's precisely when I start. When I had an adventure with the private sector, and then I came back into the public, and it was precisely at the very beginning of the pandemic when there was a huge need of guaranteeing the continuity of care. This means that we were in a scenario where health centers were somehow locked down to the access of patients, with the idea of, well, protecting them and also the professionals, protecting them from the possible contagious of the COVID-19. Well, in there, one of the first projects that I did for the public healthcare system was deploying a unique here in Catalonia, deploying a unique solution for video consultations. I mean, we are not talking about rocket science. It's not something that was not available before, but it was not implemented in routine care. I mean, healthcare traditionally has been very paternalistic, especially in the Latin countries. We lack this contact with the doctor. And it was not deployed or implemented in routine care. Well, within the COVID-19 pandemic, well, we are now at, I think we are doing weekly more than 40,000 video consultations only here in Catalonia, and more than 30,000 e-consultations, which is another system, which is the asynchronous communication in between the doctor and the patient. Well, it's a very simplistic use case, as you can acknowledge, but has been very useful in order to guarantee this continuity of care and not stopping, treating the patients, which is the most important part of this.
Thank you very much, Jordi. As you said, maybe it's not rocket science because technology was there, but usually in public systems, sometimes technology is not the barrier itself, right? So you might find other barriers regarding to governance and regulations and so on and so on. Let's talk a bit about rocket science now. So let's go back to Luca. Luca, you were speaking about new trends, new business models, digital therapeutics, for instance. So I would like you to talk about this topic. I would like you to tell us about how you see these trends in digital therapeutics, and especially how do you face as a pharma company this trend? Because actually you are not a tech company, so probably you are facing the challenge of finding business models based on technology without being a tech company, right? Probably this will link us to the second part, that is how to do it, right? But first of all, I would like you to tell us about digital therapeutics. Yeah, you're mute.
I'm on mute, yeah, as usual. The top centers of 2020 is you're on mute. So yes, I was. Yeah, digital therapeutics, I don't think it's rocket science, but rather an evolution of what did not work, and which is typical for tech solution or tech startups, which means we produced thousands and thousands of apps for doctors, for patients, and so forth, and did not work. So why doctor did not prescribe these apps? It's very simple, or at least one that the reasons is because we're not clinically validated, right? So now these digital therapeutics are nothing than software that are clinically validated, and they help patients, and it help treating, managing, and preventing diseases and disorders. So they are software basically that can be standalone softwares, which mean, for example, Akili. I don't know if you have heard of this. Has been on a hype some months ago because it was the first video game to be actually reimbursed and approved by FDA for ADHD, attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, which basically is able on its own to reduce this disorder. So this is actually a video game, and it's quite an interesting solution. It's called Endeavor, the game, and or it can go together with the drug, which helps to manage disease, like could be diabetes. I think Omada Health, one of the biggest and the first and the biggest solution that helps managing the diabetes with the help of a coach, and also with the help of artificial intelligence, provides support on diets and support on physical activity, lifestyle. They also have groups to get all in one app, and they're mainly program of about 4 months. And last is to improve. So there are solutions that go with a device. So for example, the Propeller Health, it's an electronic inhaler basically, and go with an app. So it helps you it tells you whether you have inhaled your medication properly or not. And it's clinically validated, and together with the support of an app, is basically considered a digital therapeutic. So I think we are close to digital medicine, so called software as a medical device. So those are all of the solutions are FDA approved or EMA approved, and considered as a medical device, possibly class 2. And they actually, they would help doctors, but also they will help the payers, because this solution normally, they have also done trials and studies of health economics, which means that they reduce the cost of the cost for payers. And Omada Health actually has a very interesting business model, because they actually decide, okay, this year, this patient that has diabetes, instead of paying, I don't know, maybe cost 5,000 euros for the public health insurance,
yes,
it will only cost 3. So then they go in half and half. So they Omada gets half of the savings. So it's quite of an interesting business model there.
Okay. One question. What is the, let's say, point of view of the pharma company? Because this kind of solutions actually may potentially, in some scenarios, may potentially reduce the need of taking a treatment or a specific drug, or and so on. For instance, in the case of diabetes, we've seen some solutions that are using machine learning, AI, and big data analytics, and so on, in order to even avoid insulin. So rather, as you mentioned, right, some sort of chatbot coach that will, let's say, recommend you a specific diet with low carbon hydrates consumption, and so on, that would reduce drastically the consumption of insulin, for instance, right? So actually, this would potentially reduce the incomes, of course, of the pharma company. So how do you see, what is the next move of the pharma company? So it's moving towards this kind of more like preventive health enabled by big data and technologies. So what is the next move of the industry?
I mean, if we see it in a futuristic way, which I like to see it, we see business model based on data, which includes both medicine, it's part of it, a drug, it's part of it, a pill is part of it, but also whatever all the other services around it are also as valuable as. So that means if we have this digital therapeutic solution, for example, go hand in hand with all the medications and so on, and also together with the preventive actions. So if all of these data that we are creating, and thanks to the AI as well, we'll be able to improve the solutions basically, and then the quality of life of patient. I think we go towards a business model based on data, as well-known Airbnb does, and that also, thanks to their network effects, also affects the cleaning ladies or cleaning guys, the cleaning services next to to these services, as well as we will with pharma when we interact with startup, for example. So we also enabling startups to grow, to designing companies to grow, also a new talents to come. So I think it's all about changing the center, the focus, not on selling, producing and selling drugs, but around data, I think.
Okay. Luca, I will come back to you because we have 5 minutes left for this part of the session. So I will come back to you to speak about how to engage, especially with the startups, in order to boost innovation in traditional companies. But now let me speak to Jordi. Jordi, we were speaking about innovation in public health services and systems. So I would like you to tell us about how to do it and which are the trends in order to enable and be agile, because you know that public systems holds a certain reputation of not being precisely agile, right? And having a lack of capacity for innovation. So are you rather optimistic or pessimistic on that? And which are the main, let's say, trends and tools in order to boost innovation in the public system?
Well, I can only be positive about this. So I can be pessimistic about this because I have personally tried to do this for many years. And now that I'm holding this position, I need to, make my best for this to happen. I think that a good way to explain you this is linking to the previous intervention of Luca. So all these different solutions that are arising, and digital therapeutics is a good example, for them to be really effective in most of the cases, they need to be embedded into the clinical pathways. And the clinical pathways stay in healthcare provider organizations. Also, in some cases, these different solutions, they need to fit, or in order to perform better, they need to fit with the clinical information of the patient that, most of the times is the public sector or the patient themselves, the ones that are holding such an information. So what we are doing here centrally, on the one hand, is getting our systems ready, technologically speaking, for this integration in between all these different solutions, say digital therapeutics, say telemonitoring solutions, say data-driven algorithms whatsoever. We are getting our systems ready from a technological perspective through open APIs for everyone to connect, and with a lot of control of the patients themselves to know which is the data that is flowing with these possibly private lead solutions. And also the second part, which is a very important one, I would say, and it has also been considered a huge barrier for the adoption of such solutions, it's changing the regulatory frameworks and the financing models. We need, at the end, change happen when there's the financials behind. We have seen, and it's happening everywhere, very bold movements in terms of regulatory frameworks in order to accept all these digital solutions within the public sector. And I would say the newest and the biggest example we have now is the movement that the German Ministry of Health has done. They have a very ambitious law to embrace all these digital health solutions into their systems. And you know that when Germany moves, the rest of Europe moves behind. So I would say that, from the public sector, what we are doing is, setting up the environment for this to happen and just playing a role of regulator and trying to embrace these changes.
Thank you very much, Jordi. I will go back to Luca now to finish this first part of the session. So, Luca, you know about the topic of corporate venturing. So probably we cannot expect companies and corporates to innovate by themselves anymore within their R&D centers. Of course, they will still need their R&D centers, but they have or they need more and more to engage with the ecosystem in order to innovate, right? We see how corporate venturing tools are like mushrooming, right? So many kinds. There is a set of tools like scouting of startups, like creating your own venture builder or creating your own incubator, accelerator. For instance, in your case, in Ferrer, I think you have a tool, it's called Venture Client, right? So I would like you to tell us more about how are you facing or tackling this challenge of innovating together with the startups in Ferrer, in a pharma company.
Cool.
And by the way, in a couple of minutes.
I'm going to be very short. I know. I always speak a lot, so I have to be short this time. Yeah, basically we collaborate with startups, and we decided to do it in a different way, not just by investing in stakes of the startup, but rather investing in the solution. So, or in assets of the startup. That means that instead of investing money in and getting a percentage of equities of the startup, we just invest and say, okay, now we want to send to build these digital therapeutics, for example. This is our case for chronic patients here in Spain. The solution has created some similar solutions for other therapeutical area in Asia, and they say, okay, we want to be the first one and only the first one in Spain to launch this product. So with them, so that means that together we co-create solutions, and basically we invest far less percentage, which is less risk as well, because we co-create solutions. We don't have technical capabilities, technological capabilities, and that's what they bring on board, the startups. And we have actually the clinical part, and we have the go-to-market part. So we basically partner with them, and we go to market to market together. Basically, we co-create and then go to market together. That's in a nutshell what we're doing here at Ferrer as a venture client with venture client.
Okay. Would you say about the corporate venturing, right? That probably there is a tool, or not a tool fits all, in the sense that probably depending of the maturity level of the innovation of the company, probably you would rather recommend one tool or another. For instance, you were speaking about investing, like M&A, acquisition of companies. You are not investing, right? You are becoming the first customer, actually the first partner of the company, right? So you would say that you would recommend to pharma companies, for instance, to choose one tool or another depending of their objective, and of course depending of their maturity level of digitization?
Depending on the strategy also they have. I mean, some companies, they have like they want to have a pipeline of startups and so on, so they maybe want to start from the very early stage. In our case, this doesn't happen. We just really take a startup which are a scale-up startup at least, or they have already a good Series A with 8-10 millions already, and then they already have a product in place, and that's much faster for us to go to market. We don't want to, in our case, wait for 4 or 5 years or 3-4 years for the solution to be ready, but we want to go to market in a fastest way. So that's the solution, and this would imply a big investment if you want to jump in as a CVC, right, or as a M&A if you want to buy the company or purchase the company, right? So this is a good solution, I think, instrument.
Okay, well, thank you very much, both of you. Now it's time for questions. I'm checking the Q&A section here, and actually I don't find any question, but it is true that some of the participants today already sent us some questions. So first of all, I would encourage participants to write your question in the Q&A section here in the Zoom video conference. And meanwhile, you are uploading your questions, I would share with Jordi and Luca some of the questions that were already shared with the participants that we received by email. For instance, one of the participants is asking, what is the procedure to access to a public-private collaboration for the development of digital health services? So I guess this is rather for Jordi Piera, and this is from the perspective of probably a potential company that would develop this kind of tool. So what kind of procedures or where to start, right, in order to find this public-private collaboration?
No. As I was mentioning before, I mean, the most typical innovation that we have now within the public sector is from healthcare providers or organizations. These innovations are emerging from clinicians, physicians, nurses, physiotherapists, whatsoever. Normally, these startups and companies, they try to engage with professionals of the discipline where their product is about. And from there, they start to build their project. The project, there are many different ways of funding the project. I mean, it can be competitive funding, national funding. I mean, there are many sources of funding now, including right now the next generation funds from the European Commission. And by there, it's the best way to start. I would say that the bottom-up approach is the best one.
Okay, bottom approach. Okay, great. Luca, I have a question. Maybe it's for you. It says, which one would be the, let's say, stakeholders, entities, or people to contact to start from scratch a project of a digital health app? And which will be the requirements and mechanisms to make it, right? From, bootstrapping or creating a startup company in digital health from scratch.
Okay, I think you need this 4H or whatever it's called, the hustler, right? So we need basically a guy which is in business, definitely, that is able to lead the company. Another one which is the engineering part, so the techie person. We need the person who is able to sell and to sell, so he's able to go to market, and depending if it's a B2B or a B2C solution, we need one type of marketing person or not. And the fourth one for me in everything that is related to health or health tech or digital health is a doctor, a medical, somebody who has got background, very deep background in the solution you want to build. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It doesn't fly. So this is for me the first 4 people that you need to put together. And then for sure, I think at the beginning you can, if it's a startup, you definitely want to have to maybe work with external collaborators. So like designers, for example, that is extremely important, to follow maybe some help on the process, on how you design the human-centered design, for example, if we want to use it, so design thinking. These methodologies, agile methodology definitely is one of them. There's the one where we struggle here in pharma, but this is a different topic. For startup, it's much easier, I guess. But definitely, those are, the beginning, the people that you want to be hiring, I guess.
Okay. Look, I have another question for you. This is not from a participant. This is my question, okay? And it's about the platform economy, right? So we are seeing how in other industries, actually, new platforms, new tech platforms are creating on top of the industry, or the value chain of the industry, and actually are capturing most of the value of the market, right? So we can see, for instance, in entertainment or music, how Netflix, for instance, is the connector between the producer. By the way, now they became producers, but between the producer of content and the final user or customer. The same with music, with Spotify, and so on and so on. So do you think that this could happen, that new platforms appear between the patient or the end user and the pharma companies that actually are being made, potentially become the ones capturing most of the value of the market, because they are the ones who got the data of the patient? Do you think this could potentially happen?
I think it's happening already. I think the company are really going strong on capturing data. For example, Apple with all this, silly watch, learning a lot of data from us. I think definitely it's happening. I wouldn't say that tech companies or startups, even pharma company, can do so. I mean, if we in a certain therapeutical areas, for example, where instead of just stopping by and say like, we just sell drugs, we sell more products and more services all around, and to be able to get a lot of engagement, and that means a lot of data, and that means a lot of value that you can add. But you can learn a lot from data, you can analyze data, and create better solutions over and over. So definitely, yes, I think it's happening. But that doesn't mean that there is another company, external company coming in. It could be a pharma, it could be a startup. But many times it's goes with partnerships as well, I think.
Yes. Okay.
And it's open innovation, I would call it.
Sure.
As a
open innovation, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Jordi, we have a question here in the question and answer section that I think is rather for you. Actually, we were speaking before the session about the role of public and government and public institutions in order to boost innovation, right? Because they are able actually to take risk. For instance, we've seen with the development of the vaccines of COVID-19, how actually is the government who is investing in private companies in order to develop those vaccines, right? So the specific question is if this will happen also with health solutions, health tech solutions. So the specific question is, do you think that the current government can decide to invest in this kind of solutions in the future?
It's I wouldn't say in the future. I mean, it's already happening. It's already happening, and I have one example on my desk. I mean, we've been working with a research team, which is a public-private partnership from one hospital here in Catalonia. They have developed an algorithm that it's able to process unstructured data from some discharge reports from oncology, and it's able to structure from these documents more than 21 variables that are not structured. This algorithm, the extraction of such data from these reports has a strong usage and value for research in oncology. So what we have done with them now is there's a validation of this algorithm in the line that Luca was mentioning before. It's very important, the validation and the clinical relevance of such a thing. And we have seen that it has 99.8, I think, % of accuracy when identifying these 21 variables. So now what we have done with this algorithm is plug it in the entry of our shared electronic health record of Catalonia, which is the platform where every other report is coming through, and every other report will be processed through this algorithm. We are paying for this, and we are paying for this algorithm as a service, and we are contracting this company paying for the algorithm as a service. So these things are happening. Of course, we are not as fast as we want, but it will be coming more and more in the near future for sure.
Okay, Jordi, thank you very much. I don't know if you want to add something, either Jordi or Luca, because it's time to close. I think we don't have more questions. So I see, Jordi, that you are rather an optimistic. So after many years working in the field, you see now real results, right? So, and even pandemic has accelerated digitization in the field, and even public administration is investing in tools created by third parties, but can be useful in order to improve actually the results and the service provided by the public system, right?
Yes, I am very confident. I mean, I told you before that this is very sweet moments for the implementation of digital health. I mean, the digital transformation is happening now, and it's in our hands, in the hands of all the people that it's part of the ecosystem. I would say that there's a lack of professionals with the knowledge and the appropriate capabilities. I see more and more healthcare institutions that are recruiting such profile of professionals. But yeah, I mean, really optimistic about the times that we are living in regards of the digital transformation of the healthcare sector.
Thank you very much, Jordi and Luca. Well, actually, you envision a huge transformation, actually, of what is the the healthcare industry, and especially the pharma companies, and how they deliver value to the market, right? So they will remain as drug companies, but in order to be competitive, probably they will have to create new business models based on data, on AI, and on digital therapeutics, and so on and so on. And you were saying also that the way to do it is through open innovation, right? So to deal with, to engage with stakeholders such as startups in order to be competitive. So probably you're optimistic also about the future of health. You think that the industry will be able to drive way more value to the market thanks to data actually, and to these new digital technologies?
Absolutely, I'm always positive. I think otherwise I would not work in innovation, but definitely yes. I think there is a big struggle from the old management to the new, but I think we are here to fight, and we need more fighters in this sense. But definitely there is no way back. So, and definitely we will see big changes as soon as there are proven, examples of success in these areas, I guess.
Okay, Luca, Jordi, thank you very much, all of you, and thank you very much to the audience that were following us, also to BTS and University of Barcelona. And we see you again, hopefully, in the master course.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Bye-bye.
everybody, for joining us. And thank you all for sharing your vision. See you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Take care.
Bye, Cecilia.
Bye.